What is up? Welcome to the NBA Rundown, brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. I'm your host, Spread Astaire, joined today by Tyler Hicks and the fastest rising star in DFS content. That is the man, Glockoma. So happy to have you here today. Start with you, Glock. How have you been?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Just, keep grinding away, plugging away at this NBA season. I'm sad there's only there's not that much time left. So, yeah, got to get in the winners while we can. Got a nice little 7-gamer tonight, which, it's not going to, doesn't feel, as of right now, it doesn't feel like there's going to be like a lot of chalk value. That's like, everyone's going to jam in 4 or 5 of the same guys. Yeah, exactly. and then you play 2v2s, 3v3, 4v4s. But yeah, it's definitely interesting slate. Excited to break it down with you guys.
And I can't wait to keep doing this content when the playoffs start, because I know, talk about a lack of chalk value. I mean, that's definitely the case in the playoffs, right? When the rotation's shortened and there's not guys getting pulled from the lineup day of after the salaries have been made.
Yeah, you really got to dig deep, and you have to be really conscientious of how you use your salary, because there's not going to be free 3K squares and stuff like that every night. You have to really figure out how to construct your lineup properly.
Yeah, and Tyler, not to pat ourselves on the back, but more winners from you and I yesterday, right? We seem to be doing something right because we keep getting these tickets home. What were your thoughts on the NBA last night?
It was a good NBA night. I mean, I tuned more into college basketball because that was a little more entertaining.
I kind of thought
hate to say it, but
it's true.
Watch some of those games. I seen the Suns got it done for us, so that's a good thing. But other than that, I didn't watch much last night.
Yeah, and I had the Raptors on too on the other game because that was another play that we liked, and they looked pretty good. And I think they're an intriguing team when these playoffs start. If you're talking about potential upsets of the 5 through 8 seeds, the Raptors got to be one of the most likely ones. So we'll get more into that as the playoffs go on. And our guy, this guy, you can tell he's a Phoenix Suns fan, but he says, they keep making these so-called playoff teams. And I'll tell you what, it's almost like wrestling, right? You don't want to tell everyone that you're a bum and you go out there and beat them, right? So I don't necessarily think that some of these teams the Suns have been playing are that bad. I just think that they are that good. But we'll get into it on our slate tonight. Hold on, let me get back. I don't know why I didn't have the numbers up. Had to make a little withdrawal, Tyler, today, so I had that screen up on Bookmaker instead because that's how well we've been doing here on the NBA Rundown, brought to you by RunPureSports.com. Promo code GetBets. Join it. Let's start with the Utah Jazz minus 3.5 in Charlotte, taking on the Hornets. Total 228.5. Plus 150 for the Hornets on the money line. Tyler, we'll start with you. This was a tough one for me. I was tempted to take the Hornets here, right? We know the Jazz aren't as good on the road, and the Hornets have been playing well lately, even though they did lose to the Knicks on Wednesday. What was up with that? But before that, they had won like 5 straight games, right? And we're on fire, putting up big points, starting to get healthy here. I lean towards the Hornets, but I definitely want to talk to you guys before placing this. I did not feel like the rush to run and make this bet. And I was right because the line hasn't moved since last night. So what are your thoughts, Tyler?
I lean the other way. I lean Utah. I mean, you look at Utah's last 2 losses on the road. Both teams had a wing that they could just give the ball. They'd hang 30 on you. Charlotte doesn't have that. They don't have a KD. They don't have a Tatum to just eat this Utah team up. They also don't have a big man to slow down Rudy Gobert, so he's going to have a big game. They also give up 23 points, 4 threes, 5 assists to shooting yards on the year. Those 4 threes, we all know Donovan Mitchell's going to shoot about 12 of them tonight. He's going to clear that 4 number. So I'm going to side with Utah here picking up the win. I like the Gobert double-double and win, the Mitchell 30-plus, 5+ threes and win, and even the 35+ and win. And then, but yeah, for the most part, I'm going to be on Utah in this game.
All right. Drew Carpenter, we the people, Jonathan Nelson, all in the chat. Glad you're joining us, guys. Glockoma. Tyler mentioned Rudy Gobert. How are you approaching this game? And hey, go ahead and break the tie. I lean the Charlotte Hornets. I haven't bet it though. And after Tyler's breakdown, it makes it pretty easy for me to cross off when we're going opposite, especially, I mean, the kids like Anakin Skywalker, man, the guys got the force. So how are your thoughts on this game, and who are you going to roster, if anybody, from this game?
Yeah, I think I side with Tyler, honestly. The Jazz have just been playing really well, especially Donovan Mitchell. Like, if you look at his last 5 games, he's posted 50+ fantasy points in 4 of his last 5. And, against Charlotte, they always have a great fast-paced game environment. So Donovan Mitchell is definitely at the top of my list of spend-ups that I want to spend on for the night. You get started, with a high-price guy that will just kickstart your lineup off to hopefully a good night. So, yeah, I think he is very interesting on the Utah side. And, like Tyler said, Rudy Gobert, 7.6K on DraftKings. I always like to target bigs against Charlotte. They're very suspect down there. And, I wouldn't be surprised if Rudy Gobert just has like a 20-20 game tonight, like honestly. And so those two would be my interest from the Utah side. I usually don't dip down into any of the other secondary guys if there's not any injuries or something like that. I guess you could consider Mike Conley somewhat since Bogdanovich is still out. But then again, I still think it's the Donnie Mitchell show. And then on the Charlotte side, I mean, we saw what LaMelo Ball did when he finally gets 35 plus minutes, right? It seems if you look at his game log, basically any game that he gets over 35 minutes, he's going to score over 50 plus fantasy points. It's just, like the coach just seems like if he's not playing well or if he makes stupid mistakes, he has like a really short leash on him, which really confuses me. But, that always makes LaMelo Ball a prime tournament play. Like just he's always going to be a good tournament play night in, night out because he'll get the run if he's playing well. Always has triple-double upside. So he would be in consideration from the Charlotte side. And then, obviously the more popular pivot, which everyone likes to do, although it doesn't usually translate in ownership numbers, is just play Terry Rozier. So like anytime LaMelo Ball is chalk, you can just pivot to Terry Rozier at lower ownership. And, today he's 1K cheaper on DraftKings. He's been kind of struggling as of late, 30.75 performance, 37.5, 25.5, and then a 27.75. So you could really see him break out here, against a Jazz team that doesn't really that loves to play fast and up and down. So, and Terry's minutes are always secure. So it's just a matter of if he's going to knock down the shots or not. So, yeah, those would be my 4 plays from this game. Obviously, it's the more of the spend up guys, but yeah, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert from Utah, and then LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier from Charlotte.
All right, and these guys are dropping knowledge in the chat. We the people says Gobert should smash, double-double on the win's a good way to look. Drew Carpenter talks about Gobert putting up 55 points in the last DK meeting. Robert, great point here. Jazz's biggest weakness is guarding the three-pointer. Hornets can kill that, and I love this one, man. Donovan Mitchell has shot 12 threes in 5 straight games, and that kind of brings me to a question that I prepared for you guys before the show. So in my watching of these games, man, I don't even know if I want Mike Conley back if I'm a Jazz fan. I want Donovan Mitchell running the point, right? I mean, I understand why they brought him in there, and that was 2 years ago. But in the last 2 years, Donovan Mitchell's really developed as a ball handler and also not just looking for his own shot, right? Getting other guys involved. We've loved that Donovan Mitchell assist. That was a couple years ago, Tyler, right? But I thought that was the beginning of him understanding, hey, there's other ways for us to win without me scoring, right? I have great teammates. We're in the NBA here. I'll start with you, Tyler. I mean, what do you think about Donovan Mitchell running point, and how much do you think we'll see Mike Conley in the playoffs if he's healthy?
I mean, he'll probably play in the playoffs because who else are you going to put on the floor for him? Like, they're not going to pull Clarkson off the bench, put him on the floor.
He's not good off the ball, though.
They don't really have another wing to plug in a spot, so he's probably going to have to be out there. So I wouldn't bring him back next year. They should have Mitchell on the point, but I think you'll see him in the playoffs.
He knows his role spread, right? Like, obviously, when you watch the Jazz now, Donnie Mitchell's taking up the ball most of the time. He's running the pick and rolls. And Conley's just kind of there like a secondary playmaker, you know what I mean? Like, I guess in comparison, it's like Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson or Spencer Dinwiddie, right? We know who the alpha is, but the second, like Jalen Brunson, Mike Conley's just an older version of Jalen Brunson, and he'll just make the plays when he needs to. He knows his role. I think so. I think we're going to see Point Donnie going forward for sure.
I think we should see Point Donnie, but that's a great point that I do believe that Mike Conley does still have a great basketball IQ, even though his physical skills have obviously slipped in the last couple of years. And I've said it so many times, so I won't beat it in the ground, but it sucks that he spent so many years in Memphis where not a lot of non-hardcore NBA fans really saw how good he is. And now he's on this stage, and this is what we're seeing, which I don't really think is truly reflective of how great Mike Conley was. But okay, so you guys like the Jazz there. You talked me off the Hornets. That's fine. I didn't love that game to begin with. I just thought, getting points at home on a Friday, right? It just it's been something that's worked for me throughout the years, but we do need to be selective. Let's talk about a game that's another one that I don't really have a lot of interest in betting wise, but I think that Glock's going to have some interesting DFS takes here. And I'm talking about the Washington Wizards, who are in Detroit taking on the Pistons. The Pistons laying 4.5 here, a total of 223. Washington is plus 158 on the money line. I'll be honest, I didn't spend a lot of time on this. Let me refresh the report here to see who's in and out in this game. So Kyle Kuzma's still out. I think that hurts Washington a lot. Daniel Gafford's out. I don't know if that hurts in this matchup, but overall that is a loss. Frank Jackson in, Corey Joseph in, Isaiah Liver's still out, which is too bad for Detroit because he could really use some of those developmental minutes right now. Jeremy Grant in, and Hamidou Diallo's still been out. But, a notable name that's not on this list is Cade Cunningham. So I think that is why Detroit is favored. I don't know, Tyler. I didn't really want to get involved in this game. Am I leaving value on the table? What are your thoughts on the Pistons and the Wizards?
I don't think you're leaving value on the table. I'd side with Detroit, though, in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And then looking at some of these player performance levels, they give up a ton of threes to shooting guards. They get killed by point guards, and centers beat them up down low. So I would take the Sadiq Bey 3+ threes and win, the Cade 7+ assists and win, 20+ points and win. And I really wouldn't target the center spot because I'm not a big Isaiah Stewart guy.
Okay, that's fair. I understand that. Glockoma, what are your thoughts on betting this game? Like I said, I'm fine just moving on from this one, but I don't think if you're building a lineup, you can throw this game out. It seems like there's a lot of intriguing options when you're building your lineup.
Yeah, so just looking at the numbers right now, like I'm seeing Porzingis with like 30+ to 40% ownership, and that to me is just a huge red flag, honestly.
I'm fine fading that move.
Yeah, at 8-4,
fine fading that chalk.
Like, sure, he's been playing great for Washington, but I'm a Mavs fan. I'm familiar with how KP is, and I'm actually surprised they're going to play him off a back-to-back. I was talking to one of my buddies. I was like, he's been on a minutes limit this entire time. He played 32 minutes last night. I wouldn't be surprised if they sat him here. Like, there's just really no reason to push him in my mind. Just save him for next year, and when Bradley Beal's back. But yeah, with that said, he is projecting fairly decent. I mean, I think one of the game before last game, he put up 5 blocks, and that kind of skews how he got there against Houston. He put up 57.25 fantasy points there. And then, when he's been playing the higher 20s, lower 30s in minutes, he's put up 37.25 fantasy points, 39.75, and 35.75 fantasy points. So you take out that 57 fantasy point game where he had 5 blocks, those 35 fantasy point performances, they're not going to be enough at the 8-4 tag, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'm fine fading him. Although, at chalk, I think it's totally fine move to fade him. I think he would be a fade for me. And then I would actually consider the value plays in this game, like Denny Avdija, Rui Hachimura, because like we said earlier in the slate, there's not clear value right now. So like when you can pivot off the chalk to someone that, creates leverage for you, like a Denny Avdija, Rui Hachimura, maybe they take production away from KP. That's a win-win when you want to fade the chalk. So those two value guys would be my consideration from Washington. And then from the Detroit side, I just feel like they have so many mouths to feed with Cade Cunningham, Jeremy Grant, Sadiq Bey in there. So I usually don't want to play the roulette game. If I were to choose one, it would just be Cade Cunningham and move on for me, just because of his pure upside.
It's like I want to play Cade, but he's priced appropriately, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, if I want to have some fun, I'll throw him in there, but I don't know if you can argue there's value. You talked about saving Porzingis for when Beal is back. I mean, gosh, in this Eastern Conference, is that even enough? I mean, how do you think they'll look next year, assuming Beal and Porzingis play together? Let's start with you, Glock. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's going to be enough to me. Do you think it'll be enough in that loaded Eastern Conference now?
I mean, the main question is if he could stay healthy, right?
But even if he is healthy, even if they're both at their best, is that enough? I mean, Harden, Embiid, or Beal, Porzingis?
Yeah, I think they'll be a fringe playoff team.
Do we even think Beal's still there next year?
Man, he seems committed. I don't know.
I mean, all those rumors came out. He was trying to push his way to Philly with those two now. So, wouldn't be surprised.
Hopefully, he leaves. There. I mean, I understand it's cool to like stay in the same community your whole career and everything, and maybe that's something that he wants. But as a fan, and not someone who's connected to the Washington fan base at all, I'd be I'd be happy to see him on another team and see what he can really do. But that's enough of those lottery teams. Let's go to two teams that will be in the playoffs. The Golden State Warriors are taking on the Atlanta Hawks. Hawks are -2.5 here, total 221.5 plus 121. If you like the Warriors on the money line here, I think this is an interesting game here. The Warriors sat everyone on Wednesday. It looked like they were punting the game, and then they get the win over the Heat. Now they bring everyone back tonight, which kind of sucks for DFS. But I think from a fan's perspective, it'll be interesting to see. We know that Hawks GM Travis Schlenk came out of the Warriors organization, and he's kind of built the team right in the same manner, right? Trae Young's his staff, and he's surrounding him with shooters, right? And he's got a veteran big man in the middle to kind of get things done for him, kind of like that original Warriors squad here. Hasn't worked out so well for Atlanta this season. They're on their way back. They're a game below 500. They had a really bad loss on Wednesday. Who did they lose to? Did they lose to the Pistons that we just talked about? They lost 122-101 against the Pistons. That's bad. So you got to think that they're looking to bounce back. Warriors haven't been the best road team this year. Tyler, what do you think?
I'm going to take Atlanta here. I mean, you said it. Both these teams are kind of built the same. One's missing their star. So I'm going to side with Atlanta here. I think they pick up the win. I think Trae Young has a big game. I like the 4+3s and win call by We the People. I'd play his double-double and win the 30+ points and win. And I would also sprinkle on a Capella double-double because he could absolutely feast in this spot. The only worry is he's only going to play like 23 minutes, so he's got to get that double-double for you quick. But, yeah, I'm going to side with Atlanta here and those Trae Young player performance doubles for me spread.
All right. Sounds like we both like the Hawks. Glockoma, not a lot going on here as far as fantasy news. We got a Q tag on Bogdan. So obviously that can make some Hawks a little more valuable. But with both these teams at full strength, it really seems tough to target them. Am I missing something? How are you approaching this?
No, yeah, you hit it right on the head. I think the Bogdan Q tag will be kind of how, I decide if I want to go in on this game or not. He's questionable, obviously. So if he were to miss, that's a big bump to Trae Young, who obviously never really projects that well, surprisingly, despite how good he's been. All the wings, Kevin Huerter, Danilo Gallinari, DeAndre Hunter, those guys are like in the low 5Ks on DraftKings. So they would firmly be in play if Bogdan was out. But if Bogdan's in, I definitely do have reduced interest, especially in the wings. If he's in, I'll only want to play Trae Young, as a last in tournament option to my lineups. But Golden State's good defensively, right? They're usually good at taking away your best weapon, and it's obvious that Trae Young's their best weapon. And then Capella, it seems like they're really getting away from him. Like if you just look at his last two games, 17 minutes, 29 minutes. 22 minutes, 26. Like he has some 30s in there, but it feels like they have every excuse just to like not play him. So I'll stay away from the big situation on Atlanta. And then on the Golden State side, no one necessarily projects that well, like from a value standpoint, but you have two guys that are proven that can go off. That 8-1 tag on Klay Thompson's horrible. I mean, he'll have no ownership with it, but he has 60-point upside. I mean, he showed it not too long ago, like 2 weeks ago, dropping 60 fantasy points against Milwaukee. It's just a matter if he gets hot, he's one of the hottest shooters in the league. So definitely have him if you're playing 150 MME. I think a nice sprinkle.
You think so? He's so tough though. There's so many times where he's just going to underperform at that price tag and sink you.
Yeah. I mean, there's no Steph Curry, so and Atlanta doesn't play any defense, so like someone's gonna go off on this Golden State side, and that kind of leads me.
A good point. That is a good matchup.
Yeah, and it kind of leads me to my next option, Jordan Poole, who actually it feels like Golden State's running the offense through him more than Klay Thompson, and they're kind of just using Klay to run off the screens and stuff like that. But Jordan Poole's taking the ball up. He's running the pick and rolls with Draymond. If you look at his last performances, 49.5 fantasy points, 38, 39, 45, 32. You'll take that with at a 7,800 price tag. So I honestly prefer Jordan Poole over Klay Thompson on the Golden State side. But yeah, I think like I said earlier, this game really depends on that Bogdan Q tag. If I really want to dig into those Atlanta wings, if he's out, if not, Trae Young, Jordan Poole, and Klay Thompson would round out my interest on that game.
It makes sense to me that they're running everything through Poole. Klay's never been an off the dribble type of guy, right? Poole's got a little more handles, got a little more burst there off the dribble. And I want Klay as my catch and shoot guy, right? Deadliest catch and shoot guy. I mean, Okay, I don't want to get too much hyperbole, right? But fantastic catch and shoot guy. We talked about there being a lack of value here. Otter brings up a good point. Onekye Okongwu, apologies if I pronounce it wrong. He says dude's always 3.7K and he gives you 25 a lot. In a slate starred with value, can you look there?
Yeah, definitely. I don't mind him ever. Atlanta's, like I said, seems to be trending away from Capella and giving Okongwu more run. So yeah, he's always in play for me. 3.9 on DraftKings. I don't mind it at all. Like if you land on him, he's a perfect piece, on a slate where we don't have much clear value.
All right. And sorry, I'm pissed off because I just saw that John Isner lost. I don't know how that happened, but that's not going to be good for my cash lineups here in tennis. Come on, John Isner. What are we doing here? All right, Tyler, anything more on this game?
No, that's it for me on that one.
All right, let's move into another game that I'm really excited about. The Dallas Mavericks are heading to Minnesota to take on the Timberwolves. Timberwolves laying 3. This opened at 2. Line move seems correct to me. 228 is the total. Plus 132 on the money line. If you like the Mavericks, fun matchup here. These two teams played on Monday night. The final score was 110-108 in Dallas. Controversial call at the end. I think the call could have gone either way, but if it went in the way of Minnesota, I mean, it was really close, and Minnesota was upset, and rightfully so. Okay, so these teams have played 3 times this year. The home team has won every single game. So can Minnesota make it 2-2 for the season series here? They have that opportunity tonight. Minnesota, of course, coming off that loss against the Phoenix Suns, but we kind of mentioned it at the top of the show. I don't necessarily downgrade them that much. At Phoenix right now, head and shoulders above the rest of the NBA as far as the level that they're playing at, and even to lose to the Phoenix Suns at home doesn't necessarily indicate to me or have anything predictive going against the Dallas Mavericks, a completely different style team. So Tyler, Glock's not going to like this, but I'm on Minnesota here. Give me the Timberwolves, a little bit of revenge. Shout out to Travis Mangone. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to side with Minnesota here, but I need that cat news first.
Oh, of course. I'm sorry. I just assumed that he's playing.
Yeah, he should play.
I would be so surprised.
But he probably plays.
Arm bruise. He should play.
He's been questionable the last 2 games, and he's played. So I think he'll be out there.
Mm-hmm.
They're on that 2-game losing streak. I think they want to right that ship. Yeah. They also pick up this win spread. They tie Denver and get themselves out of the play-in tournament. So they're going to come out. They're going to put up a fight. And I'm on Minnesota in this game. I think they pick up the W.
You just want Jokic in the play-in so you can just lord that over me. No, but I do think Minnesota's the right side. But, Glockoma, obviously the man with the inside information following the Dallas Mavericks, his favorite team. Are we stepping into a trap, Glock? Are we making a mistake?
No, I mean, it's definitely a tough game, and it's a huge game from, a play-in standings perspective, right? So right now, Dallas has a 3.5 game lead on Minnesota, but that could happen if they lose. And then the Mavs play Utah on Sunday, so we could see a shift in standings. Like this little stretch, that win against Minnesota that the Mavs had was huge. And then obviously if they can get this win here, either way, it's going to be big for both teams going forward. But yeah, from a fantasy perspective, I think we definitely need the cat news. I think he's out for right forearm bruise, so. I mean, I assume he's going to play. It'd be super surprising, like you guys said, to see him not play. But yeah, if he's in, my only considerations from this game would be the 2 head of the snakes on each side, Luka Doncic and Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, if you look at Luka's last game, he played horrible. I don't know how. I actually have no idea how they won. They had like secondary contributions.
He was pretty bad.
Other secondary players. Like he shot 5 of 17, 3 from 11 from 3. Put up 15 points, 10 assists, and he had 8 turnovers, and they still won, which is making me pause on when you guys want to play Minnesota, because if Luka actually played a good game, I think the Mavs can really run away with this one. Obviously, I'm a Dallas fan, but you take into account how bad Luka played. I think the Mavs can cover here. I think they're
when
plus
you
3,
watched
right?
it, did you think it was something that Minnesota did, or do you think Luka just had a bad night?
No, I think he just had a bad night personally. They send some traps to him, but like Patrick Beverly is guarding him, and Luka has
Just
success
annoying.
against Patrick Beverly. He has success against the Clippers. Like he cooked them. Like obviously it was a lot of Zubac and Pat Bev switching off, but still like Luka has no problem with Pat Bev. And also like there was some interview that Pat Bev did recently, and he said straight up the toughest person to guard in the NBA is Luka Doncic for him. And he didn't hesitate. He just said, Luka Doncic, easy. That's literally what he said. And so, like, those two love going at each other. I don't know. I feel like Luka will get up for this game. He might be one, like, obviously, if I play Luka, I kind of want to play Cat on the other side, but we'll see how the numbers work out. It's going to be kind of tough to jam in two top tier studs on this slate with the value that we have currently. But yeah, I mean, I think I understand both sides. I just think it should be good from a viewer perspective. And, if I were to consider anyone from, the DFS side, it'd be Luka on Dallas and then Cat on the Minnesota side for sure.
Yeah, and it's tough too because it's hard to get up there today, right? Without
it's very tough.
Some non-values. Tyler, so I like Minnesota here, right? I want to get down on this bet. My assumption is that I can wait because I think that they expect him to play with this -3. What do you think? Let's say the news comes out. It's what we expect. Cat's ruled in. Does this line move? Am I missing value by not betting it right now? Or is this 3 just on the simple assumption that he plays and I can bet this at 4:00 Eastern? Or
I think
Pacific?
the 3, I think it's already baked in.
Okay,
I mean, it opened at -1.5. Now it's 3. So it's basically home court. I think it's baked in. I think you'll be fine.
Okay, cool. Then I'm going to go ahead and wait then. Because wouldn't it be bad if you make that bet and for whatever reason he's ruled out? It seems like there's no reason not to wait, So, all right, we will do that. It's moved to 3.5 while we were speaking. Boy, people must be listening and going off what we were saying. Tyler, your favorite team renews an old rivalry tonight. The New York Knicks head down to Miami to take on the Heat. Heat -8.5 here, total of 215.5 plus 317. Tyler, this game opened at 5.5. And have we even got news yet? Did news move this, or still all these guys questionable? Let me refresh, man. I mean, I don't understand how you could bet this game right now. Let's go over it again. Julius Randle questionable, Mitchell Robinson questionable, Caleb Martin questionable, PJ Tucker questionable, Jimmy Butler questionable, Tyler Hero questionable, and Duncan Robinson questionable. What are we supposed to do with this game, Tyler? Assuming they all played, right? I like the Heat here, although 8.5 is too much. I loved it at the opener. I can't believe it opened at 5.5. That was wrong. I thought 7.5 was correct, but I'm not going to bet it just off that 1 point move to 8.5. I'm not taking 1 point of value with the Knicks. No, thank you. I don't know how to approach it. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm pretty much going to stay away from it, even with the news of the guys coming back. I don't want to lay A with a team that was ready to fight each other on the bench last game. So I'm just going to stay away from this one.
I had to really look into that because I didn't think it was real. I thought it was like a meme Twitter account that reported it. But then I saw all the reports and it was real. I was surprised for sure.
That would make me want to back Miami more, personally, because it shows that they care. The worst thing you want to see is you're losing to the Santa Cruz Warriors, right? Because that's what I called them on Wednesday, the Santa Cruz Warriors, because all the good players were missing, and you're just chilling, having a great time, laughing, right? And they even hearkened back to when LeBron was doing that with Dwayne Wade when he was in Cleveland, where the Heat were blowing out the Cavaliers, and he was messing around with Dwayne Wade and Ty Lue and his teammates, but they waited till the locker room lit him up, right? Now, I don't think Butler was screwing around, but my idea is it shows me that Miami cares. And I love getting a team when there's tension in the air. Even when I worked at UPS and kind of the same thing, loading boxes, getting the guys to work, creating tension as a supervisor and management works sometimes, right? Get your guys pissed off. They start focusing, right? You don't want everything to be too chill. I kind of like Miami there. I don't know what to do with the news, and the line seems to be moved correctly, but maybe you have a different take on the fight, Glock. I mean, how do you think that affects the team?
Oh man, I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. Like, obviously Jimmy's a hothead somewhat, but I don't know. If he went at someone else other than Udonis Haslem, it might make me feel differently. But you don't come at the old head, like the OG of the organization. You know what I mean?
Well, I think he went at Spo, and then Haslem jumped in because I don't know what Butler said, but then Spoelstra was like, "What? Are you going to fight me?" Like he said, Spoelstra said something, and this is what I can hear from a fan's phone video. So, I mean, who knows? This stuff could have been happening all the time, and we didn't know about it. And then Haslem jumped in to protect his coach, is how I viewed the situation. Could be wrong. We're going off the cell phone camera, right?
No, yeah. Like in Spo, I think I saw a quote where he said, like, this happens every day. It's like, it's a normal thing. It's nothing that's too crazy. So, if that's the case, then, I do think Miami should bounce back here. But yeah, a lot of the news is predicated on the injury news that we're waiting on. Like, if everyone's in from a fantasy perspective, it really makes this game environment probably the least attractive of the night, honestly. But based on who's out, we're familiar with what happens when Randall's out. RJ Barrett just takes all the usage. Obi Toppin has showed he can play, so he would become viable value play. How much is he? Let me see. Yeah, 4-5. I mean, he dropped 47 fantasy points last time out. So 4-5 at a 4-5 tag, he'd be one of the best value plays on the slate if Randall's out. But, we definitely have to wait on that news. So that's why you have to consider, not going too crazy on the early games because, let's say you want to stack up Utah, Charlotte, and you lock in yourself into Donovan Mitchell and LaMelo Ball. That's like your two studs. And then you're kind of pray that you have enough flexibility later to, jam in these value plays if the news breaks properly. So, yeah, I think this game is very predicated on, what happens injury wise. Like I said, if everyone's in, I probably will fade this game and I'll feel fine doing so. But based on who's out, obviously, if no Tyler Hero, maybe Kyle Lowry gets a bump, Jimmy Butler would get more playmaking duties. And then, like I said, Julius Randle, questionable, Mitchell Robinson, questionable. If those two guys miss, RJ Barrett gets a huge bump, Obi Toppin gets a huge bump. And then we saw last game when Mitch Robinson missed, Jericho Sims slid into the starting lineup. And he obviously didn't close and get tons of minutes, but he was pretty productive in his 26 minutes. And, if Mitch Rob misses again, you can go right back to him, or you can play the Taj Mahal himself, Taj Gibson, who seems very dusty, but it seems like Thibs loves playing him. So, yeah.
All right. And we talked about this, right? Kind of looking devoid of value, but this is a game that, hey, when we get this news, all of a sudden it could be a ton of value. It's going to be chalky value and it's going to be good value. So as we get the news, if you want to know how to navigate it, of course, become a member of runpuresports.com for the final countdown show. That's probably when we'll get the news. And then, of course, Glock and the rest of the guys will be updating their cores to reflect the news appropriately. Promo code GetBets. Join it. Let's move on. The Houston Rockets in Portland taking on the Trailblazers. Tyler, another easy one to cross off. I'm kind of tired of taking these lottery teams against each other, man. It's just like we never know what we're going to get with these teams. And I know that Glockoma cannot cross them off the list for DFS, but from a betting perspective, I'm perfectly comfortable not getting involved with this team. But same thing, man. Sometimes you see things and other people see things that I don't. And especially, right, we're big fans of the young players on this team, Jalen Green and Alperen Şengün, right? I don't know. Same question, I guess, as the last game. Am I leaving value on the table if I just completely cross this off?
I mean, I don't think so. I would side with Houston here. I think they pick up the win. Looking at some of these player performance doubles, Jalen Green, 3+ threes and win, plus 270. Right. Jalen Green to score 20+ and win, plus 240. Christian Wood to double-double and win, plus 160. It goes to be some of the ways I'd target this game, and I wouldn't go crazy on it. Just like you said, it's two bad teams playing each other. We could see anything.
I mean, so much variance. I think you have a great idea there, taking the players' performance doubles. And even if you like the other side, like We the People, and you say Brandon Williams 20+ in the win, if you're going to get involved, get some plus money, man, because I don't think that you can really accurately say that, hey, I've ran the numbers and I found an edge, or I've watched the tape and found the edge, because we're not even getting consistent rotations from either of these teams. So I really have no idea to make from this game. But like I said, Glock, you cannot cross it off from a daily fantasy perspective, especially with a total of 234, highest on the board. How do you approach these two lottery bound teams facing off?
Yeah, I do want to touch on that Brandon Williams 20+ in a W. Just be aware that he did not start last game. Chris Dunn started in his place. And surprisingly, Chris Dunn, with no clear value on this slate, he is rating as the top value at 4-5. If he starts, in a close game, you can lock him in for 30 minutes and, he fills up the stat sheet. So I don't mind him at all. He's probably at the moment, he's my favorite value play for sure. Ben McLemore, he's been playing well for Portland. Like, this game is going to be a great game to target from a fantasy perspective. Just two really, really bad teams. In these past slates, Portland has been playing better teams, and obviously they haven't been able to keep it close with anyone. So, it wouldn't be surprising for me to see Houston somehow blow them out here. But, from a fantasy perspective, I'm going to pray that they can keep it close. And, it's just going to be two really bad teams that aren't playing defense at each other, and they just go back and forth. So you can really just go down the list in this game. Chris Dunn, Ben McLemore, Drew Eubanks, who's like not really ever a sexy roster. Like, bigs have been crushing Houston. Like you name it, Dwight Powell, Steven Adams, guys you would never think are having career nights against this Houston front court. And Drew Eubanks is like in position to do just exactly the same. If you look at his logs, he's been playing 30 plus minutes, put up 30 plus fantasy points in his last 2 games. So he has the upside, and I really don't mind him here. I think those 3 from the Portland side would be my favorites: Chris Dunn, Ben McLemore, and Drew Eubanks. And then obviously on the Houston side, you can run it back with anyone that you like. Kevin Porter Jr. is rating out really well. Only 6K on DraftKings. That's a really cheap tag relative to what he's been. Christian Wood, and then Jalen Green would be my favorites from Houston. So yeah, I think from a betting standpoint, you guys are avoiding this, but from a DFS perspective, you're definitely going to want to have a few pieces from this game, going into tonight, because it's just 2 bad teams going back and forth. No defense is going to be played, and yeah, it's definitely an elite environment and my favorite of the night, to be honest.
Yeah, I bet you, when the guys in the NBA headquarters are running their league pass and they're going, boy, we got a lot of people tuned into this Houston Portland game, and it's because of all the people watching their DraftKings lineup. So interesting, difference there, right, between betting and DFS, right? A game that we want nothing to do with, right, could end up deciding who's the winner in those big tournaments. The Philadelphia 76ers are the final game of the night in Los Angeles, taking on the Clippers. Clippers plus 4.5 going against their old coach. Revenge narrative, 4-man going, total 217.5. Clippers are plus 173 on the money line. Clippers have not been playing well as of late, but yet they're kind of locked in that 8 spot. PG's maybe returning, right? Does that give them a glimmer of hope? I don't know. The Sixers have been playing well. Let's see. I don't think there's a lot of tags on this one, right? Just Covington.
Yeah, nothing big.
It's questionable, right? And I don't really think that he even matters even that much for DFS. Not really a big usage guy there. So that's the way that we're approaching this game. I don't know, Tyler. It seems like the Sixers are a good play, although I would say the Clippers do have, we always talk about Embiid's got a great matchup, and he's going to dominate against anyone. But we got Zubac and Hartenstein. That's kind of like, a pretty good way to approach it, right, out of all the different options we have when we're going through here. My problem is I just don't think they can get loose on the perimeter and keep up, right? Maxey had a great game in the last game, right? Harden's going to be looking to get right, and what a better place to do it than against the Clippers. And, of course, you do have the old coach narrative. I don't know if the Clippers get up for that, or if so many of the guys on the roster have turned over that they don't even care. What do you think of this one, Tyler?
Yeah, I like We the People's calling the under. I don't think they get many points in this game. As for the side, though, I'm going to stay away. They just played the Lakers on Wednesday spread. Never left LA. Mm-hmm. We're talking James Harden in a big city. He drug all the guys out to the clubs. I'm not backing this team and watching them come out flat-footed against the Clippers team. So give me the under, and that's about it in this one.
All right. He likes the under, and that's never good for DFS. Glock, what do you think?
Yeah, so from the Clippers standpoint, they're basically locked into where they are. They're going to be in the play-in game no matter what it looks like. So they've already come out and said they're going to limit minutes on their guys. Marcus Morris is only going to play like 25 or so minutes. Reggie Jackson's only going to play 32 at the most. And, from a fantasy perspective, that's just an auto fade for me. One thing I think is interesting is that if you do dig into like their scrubby bench guys, like maybe like Amir Coffey or Kennard or what's his name, Boston Jr. Like on a slate where we don't have much value, I feel like teams like the Clippers, where they're kind of satisfied with where they are, they might give a look to these younger guys coming off the bench, give them more run. So on a slate where we're starved for value, I don't mind taking a shot at them potentially. But other than that, I'm not going to roster any of the main Clippers guys. Just fading them. I think they don't really care where they are. They're just going to play the game out how it plays out and not really play their main guys. So yeah, fading the Clipper side. And then on the Philly side, as always, it's just Joel Embiid or nothing for me. I do want y'all's opinion, because it did seem like if you watch the Lakers game, did it not feel like he's looking a little tired, or after he got banged up by Stanley Johnson, I think he like ran into him during the lane and fell down or something, was grabbing his back. Like after that moment, it felt like he was either tired or he was just walking gingerly. I don't really know if you guys caught that, but I kind of was curious on your thoughts.
I tend not to make too much of that, right? Because I don't know. He's not the most what's it called, sturdy or stocky guy to begin with. It's really hard to play his style and be that big, right? And we've seen other big players, that play that style have problems, right? Greg Oden comes to mind as a guy who could just never get healthy. And I remember early in his career, it was looking like Zion Williamson. He never played, and so I try not to take too much into it. But I think that what I would take away from it is if I'm Doc and I saw that, right? Because you saw that, he definitely had to see it. Maybe I'm limiting these minutes. Like, how much does this really matter? We've talked about how tough this East is going to be, no matter where you end up. Fighting for that 2 seed, right, and wearing yourself out doesn't necessarily seem to be the right way to approach this, right? Because you might end up with Brooklyn, or even if you don't end up with Brooklyn, you might end up with Toronto. I'd rather play Chicago or Cleveland. Maybe those teams leapfrog them, maybe they don't. But making a push for such uncertainty doesn't make sense. My main takeaway would be maybe we see less minutes from him going forward, but I don't know. I really don't know. This is definitely different way to approach it than the way that Philadelphia went into the playoffs last season, right? Because they have so many new parts here. Expectations are a lot higher. And, you can counterbalance that with we need to get Harden and Embiid as many reps together on the floor as possible. So I'm not sure. My guess would be that they lean towards limiting his minutes, but I don't know. What do you think, Tyler?
I mean, maybe they limit him, but I think they're going to play him. You got to get those reps in before the playoffs. You can't just rest the guy and have him on fresh legs and no chemistry. So
is that what you would do if you were running this team?
Yeah.
Doc Tyler?
Yeah, I wouldn't trade for a star at the trade deadline and be like, all right, my other star can now rest his legs so we can go into the playoffs and have no chemistry. That's just
and
bad.
Harden's still suffering from those
Just
hamstring
shoot yourself in the foot before the playoffs even start.
Yeah. We the people makes a good point here. Sixers bench has been absolutely awful. Do we think the Clippers can take advantage of that? What do you think, Tyler?
I mean, yeah, they could. They definitely could.
Yeah. It's not like the Clippers bench is any better anyways, but
they're such a weird team. To be fair, though, most of the guys that are playing were designed to be on their bench.
Exactly.
So you're kind of watching their bench with the first unit. So anyways, I think this game is going to be a lot of fun. I think from a fan's perspective, I'm fine actually not getting involved from a betting perspective. And the other great thing is, I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but I will be on the live show tonight. So maybe a better opportunity to jump in live and get the Clippers at +10, get the Sixers at even money, something like that. So, we'll be monitoring that and having fun doing that. So, Tyler, pretty efficient today, and that's good because I got some stuff planned for this afternoon. But we know what the people came for, and that is the best bet. Start with you today. Side total or prop? Best bet.
I'm going to take the Utah -3.5 and the Rudy Gobert double and win.
Perfect. All right, Glockoma, what would you like?
My homerness is telling me to take Mavs +3, but I won't do it on the show. Okay. I'm going to go with Houston -3.5 on the road.
Wow.
They're obviously fully healthy against a bad Portland team who's just been getting blown out. Obviously, from a DFS perspective, I think it's a great game to fire up. I don't think they're going to blow them up by 20 or anything, but I think they'll comfortably cover the 3.5 on the road.
All right, we'll throw We the Peoples in here because this guy has been money. My best bet is Trey, 4 +3s and the win. And hey, I'm going to correlate with you. I'll take the Atlanta Hawks -2.5. Glock, I was going to give out the Timberwolves, but hey, we got a Dallas guy on the show. We got other bets on the board. We'll go ahead and let that one simmer. I'll take the Atlanta Hawks, man. We talked about, the Warriors here. Interesting spot. They win with all their guys out. Now they bring these guys back in the lineup. How do they respond? How much do they care? I think Draymond Green will be pushing them, but is he enough against the Hawks team that really needs to win and whose home road splits skew so heavily? If you only run the Hawks home splits, they're one of the best teams in the league. It's traveling is where they've really had problems. So let's see if they can put away the team that they were built after, right? This was the blueprint for the Atlanta Hawks. Now they get to face that test tonight, and let's see how they fare. So I will take the Hawks -2.5. And Tyler, the people love it when you put together a swing for the fences parlay. What do you got for us tonight?
The first leg we're going to roll with is Sadiq Bey 3 +3s, and Detroit picks up that win over Washington. Mm-hmm. The second leg will go Donovan Mitchell 30+ points, Utah wins. Okay. In the third leg, We the People's best bet, Trae Young 4 +3s, Atlanta wins. That gets us 30-1.
All right, a couple more here from the chat. And Jake, I like that he's got a little bit of good research here. He says Pistons first half -2.5, Washington 1-9 in their last 10 first half. I was not aware of that, Jake. Thank you so much. And our guy Drew Carpenter, who was dropping excellent knowledge earlier, especially about Rudy, he says D. Mitch, Donovan Mitchell, 4+ threes and win. So thank you, Drew. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Glockoma, you want to let everybody know about all the great things you're doing over at Run Pure Sports this weekend?
Yeah, so I will be actually on the Hardwood Show in 30 minutes on the Run Pure Sports channel. So
All right.
be sure to check that out, free on YouTube. I'll also be on the Saturday show as well. So yeah, we're just gonna keep pumping out content for you guys. Apologies for my dogs trying to get out, but
Even your dog wants the Timberwolves.
Yeah. So the dogs are barking. So yeah, well, we're just gonna keep pumping out cores and content for you guys until the end of the season. So yeah, just sign up if you're not a member already. We got all the goods for you.
Hey, man, we've been having a lot of fun building those tennis courts, and we've seen people's cash in every day there. And that's kind of been my contribution on the daily fantasy side. But it's so much fun, and it's just a different way to approach making money by watching sports. There's no right way, and when you're making money, they're both fun. So we appreciate having you on, man. Always great information, always well-researched and presented very professionally. Tyler, any more words before we get out of here?
Nope, that's it for me. We'll be back Monday with more NBA rundowns. Enjoy the weekend.
Yep. And if you didn't get enough of Spread Astaire, I will be on the live show tonight. If you're not a member of the Sports Keg live feed, jump in the Discord, find out how to become a member because we have a great time doing those. Very profitable as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Run Pure.